Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Headmaster's Homeroom. I am Lady Hamilton, and that's right, it is art night. I'm so excited to have everyone joining us tonight. So let's say hello to our wonderful viewers. Hello, Rumble family. It is so excited to see you guys all over there. A lot of our Artist Corner family in the house. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And hello to all of our Pilled viewers with your wonderful memes and so forth. Thank you so much for joining me. Hello, X viewers and family. Nice to see you guys over there as well. And also hello to our YouTube viewers. So many different channels we are streaming on. So everybody do me that favor. Hit those buttons, hit those likes, follows, and share, because don't we want to share out our guests and their amazing talents with the world? So make sure you guys do that. I appreciate that. And thank you guys for your support for the show. You can do that by your rants, your subscriptions, your cash apps, your pills, your tips, and more. And I'm forever grateful. Well, you guys, I am so honored as we start today. I have an amazing group called the Artist Corner. And yes, it's Artist Corner International. And every single day I get to highlight an artist, whether you are a painter, a photographer, a poet, let me see, a poet, author, or, so many more things. I mean, seamstress, jewelers, you name it. We love it. I am so excited. And so I get to choose an artist every single day. And then at the end of the week on Fridays, we have our Artist of the Week. How do we choose that? By you. You guys are voting by your likes, your shares, and your comments. Those all get tallied up. And guess what? That is how we choose our Artist of the Week. So we're going to share that right now and celebrate our Artist of the Week this week. So excited. Let's give her a round of applause. This is our wonderful friend Ruby, an amazing photographer. You guys make sure you're giving her a follow on Truth and on X. You guys can find her at RUBQ11. And she is just spoiling us with her amazing views. I believe she lives in Florida, but just absolutely amazing photographer. And we are so excited to have her part of our Artist Corner family. So again, a huge shout out to our amazing Ruby. You are featured this week as our Artist of the Week. So make sure, like I said, guys, go give her a huge congratulations and a follow. You guys can follow her on Truth Social and on X. But just look it up, RUBQ11. We are so excited to have you part of our Artist Corner family. So exciting. Speaking of Artist Corner family, we've got a new member in the house tonight. When I say international, I'm not kidding. Tonight, we welcome Robert McAffee. He is a renowned Canadian landscape artist. Born in 1962, Robert left a successful corporate career in 2009 to fully answer the call that had been in his bones since childhood. Traveling across Canada to paint its dramatic and soulful landscapes from the North Shore of Lake Superior to Algonquin Park, the Rocky Mountains, and Gatineau Park, his work captures the rhythm, stillness, and the raw beauty of the Canadian wilderness beneath endless northern skies. With over 35 years of professional experience, Robert is a self-taught artist, influenced by Tom Thomson, Claude Monet, and his uncle, celebrated watercolorist Jack Reid. His paintings hang in galleries, libraries, and major corporate collections throughout Ontario, including the TD Canada Trust Twin Towers and the CN Towers iconic 360 restaurant, where he has been the exclusive featured artist since 2010. Tonight, Robert's going to share his artistic journey, his passion for preserving nature through art, and help us with the stories behind his many landscapes. Everyone, please welcome my dear guest, Robert McAffee. Am I saying that right, McAfee?
You know what? I'm thrilled to death that you said it right, because nobody ever pronounces that last name properly.
Oh, good. I am so glad to have you here. Welcome, welcome, my friend. This is so awesome to have you join us tonight.
Thank you. It's my privilege and my pleasure, and I'm thrilled to be a part of your community tonight, and let's have a great discussion about art.
Yes. I mean, you're getting already a lot of welcomes. Let me throw these up here so that everyone can see. Thank you guys so much for welcoming our guest here tonight. And I'm just grabbing these from the chat. So exciting. I think everybody's already following you, and you guys will find out how to follow him shortly if you're not already. So tell us a little bit about you. I know that you said that you've been doing this for like 35 years. You're a self-taught artist. But, you were in the corporate world. I always kind of joke about with us artists, we have to be like an artist and until we get known out there. But tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, my journey. I'm 63 years old. I know I don't look a day over 20, but I've been in the art world for a very, very long time. And it started really for me. My mother is an artist, and all of her 10 brothers and sisters are artists in some form or another. Sign painters, Jack Reid, the watercolorist, and
Mhm.
portrait artists, and just on and on and on it goes. It's a long list. So I was born into this world surrounded by paintbrushes and drawing tools, and the example by successful artists that you can do this.
Right?
So when I was 6 years old, this is really how I kind of got baptized, into the art world. I remember my mother and her two sisters, both of them artists, packed me into the back of the Volkswagen Bug, and that's back when you could climb into the back of the Volkswagen Bug and sit in the little cubby in the very back,
Right.
before seat
Right. Right.
belts.
I remember hanging out in the back windows. Right.
Yeah, don't tell my mom I told that story now, all right?
Oh,
Uh,
nobody's gonna know, Robert.
Nobody's gonna know, right?
Awesome.
Well, we uh we were going out to visit her older brother Jack Reid,
Hmm.
and I didn't have a clue at the age of 6 who Jack was. I had never met him before. He was a very busy person from what I learned since, and he didn't really spend a lot of time around his family. The art world has a way of consuming an artist's time, and Jack was celebrated and very busy. And so, on this one day when they had a chance to visit their brother, they packed me into the back of the Volkswagen, and out we went to Jack's house. And well, Jack met us at the door, and Jack had a bulldog kind of appearance. He had a brush cut, sort of a military brush cut, and he just looked the part of a rugged kind of a artist guy. But he was a real teddy bear in real life. And at the door, he completely ignored his sisters, and he scooped me up in his arm, and he took me down into the basement with them following behind, and sat me up at his drawing table. And he he was surrounded by beautiful paintings. And Jack was a stone house painter, a farm painter, as it was back in the 60s. There was a lot of that sort of thing. It was very popular, and Jack was right on top of all of that. But he had a big drafting table, and you can't see it right now, but his drafting table, all
It's right
these
there.
years later, is right here in my studio
Hmm.
beside me. I inherited that when he passed on. But he sat me up on his stool at his drafting table, and he put a piece of watercolor paper in front of me. I still remember the insignia on it that said Arches. So anybody who paints in watercolor, the Arches name. It's one of the finest watercolor papers in the
Yes.
world. That's what he used. And even though I was 6 years old, he didn't give me a piece of scrap paper, typing paper or something. He gave me Arches paper. And he got some brushes and some water, and he mixed up some olive green watercolor and some Van Dyke brown. I never forget it. And he set me up, and he painted a quick little tree, and then he scooped over another piece of paper and set me up to it and said, "Okay, now you do it." So I started working on it, and I thought for sure that as a 6 year old, I can still remember it like it was yesterday. I thought for sure that he was all into his little nephew here, but really what he was doing was just tying me up while he went to visit with his sisters upstairs. A little lesson to you artists who have kids around. That's how you do it.
That's
Tie them
right.
up. So I painted this little picture, and a couple of hours later, he came down to see how I was doing. Didn't he take that little watercolor over to his matte cutting table,
Hmm.
and he cut a piece of green, olive green mat to match the watercolor. And I want to tell you, it wasn't much of a picture.
Right?
It was a 6-year-old's
Right,
tree,
picture.
you know, but he cut acid-free mat to put on that 6-year-old's
Awesome is this.
tree on a piece of Arches paper. Like he
Right.
sacrificed
Right.
nothing for me. He gave it all to me in
Nice.
those moments. And then he slipped it into a piece of plastic. In those days, you used to slip your watercolors into a plastic display envelope
Mm-hmm.
and sealed it and sent me home with that. And I still have it to this day.
That's awesome.
And
That
that
is
really,
awesome.
that just, I wouldn't say that dipped my toe in the water. That
Mhm.
kind of just threw me head first into the pool. And I've never looked back.
Right. That is such an amazing story. I love that. And what an honor. I saw that in the chats too. I agree. What an honor to literally inherit that table. I agree. But how awesome is that? I encourage everyone to get their kids involved in some form of arts right away, and get them into this world of creativity, critical thinking. Me as a mom, when I got my kids too, I would take butcher paper. I was a chef forever. So I always had rolls of butcher paper and I'd roll it out like almost mural length, right? Rip it off.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd trace their bodies or whatever and give them all these kind of things. I'm like, all right, but you're right. It's a distraction, but it was also creativity, and I'd come up with that. I still have some of that. I have save boxes for them, and roll them, saving those babies up for them. But that is, if you guys, right, want to distract your kids, a great way. Get them into something artistic, right? My daughter's so much not a painter, but when I gave her clay, oh my heavens, it just changed the world, So you never know what they might love. But it's amazing. What a great story. And I'm so glad that you were immersed into this world at such a young age. And it has definitely paid off because you are so talented.
Well,
I
I
love
don't
that.
think that I don't profess to be any kind of a doctor or a scientist or anything, but I do know that we do have two sides to our brain. We have two ways of thinking, and left side and right side, as they say. I don't know what all the terms are, but I do know that there are some who are more academic, and there are some who are more creative, shall we say. And we can get into it later, but I'll just say I was never an academic by any stretch. I left school in the middle of grade 11. My whole thing, although I had other careers, as we'll cover that, but I was all about the art, and it was the common denominator through everything in my life. And when we had kids, later, I have 3 kids. They're all grown up and moved away now, but they're all very accomplished in the academic world, but they also have the other side of their brain, which I like to say that between their mom and me, she was the academic and I was the creative, and we really kind of seeded our kids' lives with both of those things. And I feel there may not be financially rich, but they are talent rich because we placed that imprint in them, you see.
Yes, I agree. My husband and I have done the same. He is more in the medical field, and even though I'm an academic, you could see that even with my degrees, they would go into education, art, art integration or history, and most of my work came from stories of history, and different things. But it was always, even as a chef, starting as a pastry, decorating all these, everything was like an art all the way through it, and it's so exciting to do that. But then here comes my husband with this medical world, and this knowledge. And so they got, like you said, they got inspired by both fields, and truly blessed with such an amazing experience, But when you have art in your life, it's like a second language. It creates so much ability in your brain, and it really brings in reasoning, critical thinking, and just helps a lot with your pathway. So I'm so excited for that.
And the irony
Congratulations.
of it, and the irony of it all is that over the years, since I became a professional artist, I see how different people from different walks of life react to art, and it never ceases to amaze me when the academics, when the real, hard, nerdy academics come along, which is
Right.
a good 2/3 of the buyers of my art. the way they cross their arms and stand and analyze, the way they want to know the backstory and all,
Mhm.
I could see it coming from a mile away,
Right, right,
but it's quite amusing to me because they're displaying that other side of the brain way of thinking, and
right.
I can bridge that.
Exactly. They want to know the technical ability
Yeah,
that you have,
yeah.
and I've seen that too. And I love that, and exactly. But you're right. You could totally see that coming. And it's awesome, but it's still getting immersed in their own way and appreciation of art in their own way. And I'm glad that they come
Yes.
and explore that world.
I think,
Amazing.
one of the things I've learned over the years, and probably this as well, but uh, when people who don't come from an art background per se, a creative way of looking at things, this whole art world is an anomaly to them. It's a kind of it's an adventure,
Right.
and they don't really understand how the artist thinks, but
Hmm.
the ones who are truly into the art, whether they know anything about an artist's vibe or what, it doesn't matter. But they, the inquisitivity of them is just
Hmm.
refreshing to see that because they really want to know. And I
Hmm.
like to think that I'm providing an opportunity for them to explore an area of their life that they otherwise
Right.
wouldn't have anything to do with. And the same can be said vice versa. Creatives are not necessarily academics, although not always true. But uh, you know, as a creative, I'm fascinated with how the academics think, and vice
Hmm.
versa. So it's a trade-off.
Right.
We're giving something to each other there.
That's right. When you think of that, I think of like, when I do some of my abstracts, mathematically or science world. I may not understand all the sciences, and especially having a husband who's in the medical and science world, but I love to paint it. I'm like,
Mhm.
start giving me some microorganisms, and I'm like, woo, I mean, even in NASA, they have amazing artists that go and paint, the nebulas and planets and so forth. So there is a blend between the two. You may not understand it, but you're wanting to venture more into that world, and they wanting to venture more into this world. And I
Yeah,
think that is really amazing, isn't it? That's
I
why
it's,
another thing, right? I'm like, join the art group, guys, because you may not be an artist, but you asking these questions, venturing into this world, and, is so exciting that we love to have that too.
I agree 100%. I don't think there's anything better than you could do for yourself than to expose yourself to the different
Mhm.
disciplines, the different genres. You may or may not ever pick up a brush. That's totally fine. But you may develop a deeper sense of appreciation for the art that you see around you.
That's right. That is so right, because there is a lot of soul, a lot of work, a lot of thought, creativity. It is when you get into, like you said, your artist vibe, and I know you have a post and we're going to show that. I do have the picture in your setup, but you sent me one by a message and we will show that at the end. But it's like, it's something you have to appreciate the time, and the effort that went into it. But it's literally with an artist, you are pulling that soul and whatever emotion or whatever you're thinking, that experience onto the canvas or onto the paper, and it's really something to admire.
Well, I think to expand on that thought a little bit farther, I think uh, there's a really deep sense of respect that exists between myself and, well, in the academic world, the people that I seem to connect with the most with my art are like EMS, emergency professionals,
Right.
police
Mhm.
officers, military, ex-military, but also um, doctors who deal with trauma a lot. Uh, and I like to think that what I'm providing for them is not an escape, but a vacation in your mind, shall we say, or a vacation in your soul of a whole different way of living. And so, amongst my doctor clients and EMS clients and police officer clients, we have this understanding that your career after 12 years of school took 12 more years of school, maybe longer in many cases. If you went on to become a specialist, you're talking, maybe 10, 16, 20 more years of education. Uh, but we each agree that it's comparable to a mature artist having spent the first 40 years of his or her
Right.
life developing their craft.
Hmm.
And it's not to say that younger people can't be accomplished artists. We know that certainly there are lots of them that are certainly very accomplished. Some people achieve that a lot faster than others.
Right.
Um, but for me, I'm a late bloomer. I was in my mid 40s before I started to realize the possibility of a career. But I like to say those were my university years, sort of.
Right.
I never
Right.
went to university, but those were my educational years.
Love that. Yeah, I didn't go to a normal university until like my mid 30s as well too, and I was like, okay, but I had adopted children and they were medically fragile, and I needed an outlet. And since I had been a chef, I'm like, oh, I could go learn some art classes and so forth. My family's pretty creative, and next thing I know, I mean, it did start out great, but years and years and years of doing this now to find my mode. But I totally appreciate that. And jumping into this world late, but better late than never. But it is, and it's absolutely amazing. And you're right, because I think that when you go into different fields, like your doctors, your lawyers, your firemen, your police officers, they want to look at something or experience something that takes them away from their everyday world. I think that's one of the things I love about artists is a lot of you take us on these adventures and we can just dive into that painting and kind of be lost there. I think that is a really great experience.
I have a great client in Montreal, in Canada, and he is an emergency room doctor, and he sees all of the high trauma cases that come through the door. Montreal is a huge city,
Yes.
much like Toronto, and anyway, he spends his days and nights saving lives and dealing with all of the baggage that comes with that. But he purposely built a log house just outside of Montreal, and he commutes back and forth. And in his log house, he's probably got 7 or 8 McAfees, large McAfees, all throughout the place. And it's his way of, like I said before, going from that thing that he does over there, which is vitally important, which is critical to our existence. But now he goes to that other place where
Hmm.
he can just kind of cut loose and go paddling without going paddling. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I mean, art is therapy, whether you're creating it
Yeah,
or you're just
yeah,
immersing yourself into it. Because
yeah,
especially in those kind of trauma situations, you need to have an escape. And
yes.
so being able to just view, work and have it surround you and be able to experience that it's a getaway from that kind of, high intensity life.
Listen, even if you're not into all that academics, and if you're not one of those, if just existing in the world today,
You need to
you
get
need
away from
you need art.
it. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, my friend. Well, we are going to have a ton of questions for you as we go through your amazing work here, but I am going to load that up for everybody to see because you need to give him a follow. I only know you from X, and thank you so much for joining our wonderful group. And I've been following you for a while, but you guys, please go give him a follow if you are on the X. And if you're on any other social media, Robert, you can shout that out now as well.
Yes, of course. I'm at Robert McAfee on Instagram.
Thank
I would say that Instagram is where you can find the most inclusive inventory of my work, both available and sold. It's been sort of a constant all through the years. But Facebook also, now you look for Robert McAfee, you're going to find my father who spells his name exactly the same way. But I'm the younger looking one, okay? So
right.
Robert McAfee on Facebook, and there is where I do all of my really regular daily interactions, posts, and we'll talk about this later. But I also post little clearance sales, little $100 sales, little marketing things that I do. The Facebook page is where you'll see all of that. And but more important than anything is, of course, robertmcafee.com. That's the home, that's the heartbeat of everything.
Right. And I love it. I am excited about bringing the arts to X so much, and seeing this, engulf this is so amazing.
Yeah.
So that's a new place, that I'm not the only one that is doing that, but I'm loving to see that, because we need to beautify that. And that is so exciting to see see you there. And I do see, by the way, if you guys are on X, I do see his work and his clearances and his sales and everything being put on there as well. So you guys can check him out there too. And I'm just going to drop this right here. I dropped it in the chats for you guys all to go check out his work. And then also we have it on the screen here, so you guys can go check out his website as well. Okay. Awesome. Whoops. There we go. All right. Are you ready to show off your work and talk about it?
Let's go.
All right. Here is our first one, my friend.
Well, this is a brand spanking new painting, just done within the last maybe week and a half or so. I wish I could tell you that it's available, but it got sold the day after I posted it, so it's not available anymore. But
right,
this is I went to an area near our capital, Ottawa. It's in Ontario, and there are fields and birch trees, and then there's the Ottawa River, the Ottawa Valley. It's just a spectacular, beautiful area. Now, this is just a snapshot on canvas from that area, and I did this as a sketch first. I posted it a few weeks ago, and then, of course, I couldn't resist. I went back and worked it again and worked it again. And when it reached this point, well, somebody decided that it fit their space, and they used their Facebook Messenger and said, "Okay, how much for that one right there?" And I said the number, and it's sitting right over here right now, but it's all bundled up and packaged and ready to go.
Right.
But
We're going to have to.
Birch trees are kind of a funny thing for me. You're gonna find as we talk that I tend to resist artistic cliches. I tend to resist what I call cliche colors and motifs and things. I like kind of off the wall, kind of a different way of looking at things, and so I don't paint birch trees very often because they're a little bit overdone, and I'm risking offending somebody when I say that. But when I do them, this is how they look, and they just are joyful, and they're peaceful, and they sway, and they're softwood, and it just kind of worked with the blowing grass in the background, and the mood of the autumn season. So again, I didn't come at this with really overpowering colors. I could have used brighter oranges and yellows and reds, but again, this is just my own personal conviction that I resist those. What everybody seems to be using, I go with the kind of a muted tone, and that's kind of where the character of my work comes in.
Right. And I believe most of your art is oils. Is that correct?
Correct. I started for the first 35 years, starting with that 6-year-old visit to Jack's place. I believed in watercolor. I didn't know that there was ever anything else in the world. And as I got older, you know, here's a funny little story for you. I know how watercolor artists and painters are, oil painters are. It's just this funny little rivalry, and I'm well acquainted with it because to watercolorists, those oil painters over there, they just kind of can paint over their mistakes, right? But to oil painters, those watercolorists over there are just kind of like paint by number kind of people, and but having worked on both sides of that discipline, 35 years of being a watercolorist, I wanted to be Jack. I wanted to emulate him. I wanted to be that guy, and the path away from watercolor, again, we can cover that perhaps later in the discussion,
Okay.
uh, if anybody wants to know. But it was a dramatic transformation. And when I moved into oils, which I've been in for the last maybe 20 years now, 19, 20 years, uh, it's been my primary way of expression because I feel the chunky, textural, painterly approach and the less perfectionist kind of approach, the more dab, dab, dab kind of a,
Right.
it appeals to me much more.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'll say, as a watercolorist, I had a monkey on my back. And this is not true for all watercolors, because most
Right.
watercolorists I know are very loose and very, very free with their technique, and that's great. I couldn't seem to get to that place. I was really, monkey on my back was a detail monkey, more, I
Right.
couldn't get away from that. Whereas oil liberated me from
Mm-hmm.
that, and it made me freer with my brush, like this
Mm-hmm.
painting here.
I totally understand that because I'm going through all these different classes. Yeah, I've done watercolors. I dabble in every once in a while. It's funny because my Christmas card a few years ago was that. But when I met oils, just like you said, all of a sudden I was like, ooh, I'm in love. I mean, the vibrancies, the movement, the play around, the thickness, the thinness. I mean, there's so many things that you could do with this, the blending. I mean, it's like, oh, I was in love. So I totally understand what you're meaning by this, right?
I really admire watercolors, and again,
Too.
my uncle was my hero, and he was much more committed to watercolor than even I was, with even
Right.
35 years into it. But I really admire watercolor artists who can really commit to the color, who can really dive into the powerful saturated colors of the reds and the blues, the cobalts, just, I've never been able to get to that place with watercolor, and it's just a matter of liberation. It's a matter of kind of breaking the chains.
Right.
Whereas in oil, I can do that. So, maybe there's
Kudos
hope for
for
me
that.
yet.
Right. I always am telling people too to try just different mediums. You never know.
Yeah,
You can always go back to the one you love, but you never know
yeah,
until you try them,
correct.
or retry them. But I'm with you too because there are certain things that people can do, and I'm always amazed. I'm like, wow, and the miracles and stuff that they can do and what they create with their mediums.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
kudos for that. And we might have to get you to talk to us about, like amazing about how you are becoming a famous artist. You're actually selling your work. And in the group on Tuesdays, we also have like an art tip Tuesday. So any tips you want to give artists about selling their work and, getting out there, because that seems to be a big issue for some artists as well. We would love all
I,
the help we can get.
I'm open to anybody's questions, anybody that wants to contact me. But for the purposes of our discussion here tonight, I'm more than happy to delve into that, because I've learned a lot, and I've learned it the hard way. Uh, Absolutely nothing came to me easy. Um, and I have paid dearly for each and every lesson that I've learned. And the marketing side of it, I'll say in a nutshell that I'm very philosophical, and I want to say that in the earlier stages of my life, I went through different careers,
Mhm.
but two of the careers that were critical for me was a 14-year career in retail, where I was much younger and I worked in a photography retail environment. I learned to sell things. I learned how to talk to people.
Mhm.
I learned how to not judge a book by its cover. I learned to respect people on their level every day of the week. Um, and I also learned, because I worked for a very successful Canadian photo retailer. They were called Black's Photography in the day. They had 600 stores across Canada. They had a few in the United States as well. Um, they were master marketers, and the way they did their weekly sales, their monthly sales, their seasonal sales, the way they trained us to talk to clientele. I want to tell you, all those years working in retail, I didn't make a lot of money, and God knows the first few years of being married and raising kids, we subside, we survived on that, meager income. But what I learned about marketing in those years, I never thought it would benefit me. But shoot
Yeah.
ahead to the art career, a lot of the things that I do, a lot of the practices that I preach, my $100 sale, my little clearance section sales,
Mhm.
uh, all these things that I do are straight out of the Black's marketing handbook. And so we could talk about that more. But the other career what I was in was banking for, the last 14 years of my professional life outside of art. And I also loved that world, and it was a little more financially rewarding, but I also couldn't see how that was going to benefit me at all in art later on, In the first place, I didn't think I'd ever be a full-time artist. So let's get that clear. I was going to be a banker. I was going to be like a striped suit kind of a guy with all the other bankers in downtown Toronto's financial district. I was going that road. But in the banking world, I learned that everybody is a human being,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what walk of life you come from. And believe me, I schmoozed with some of the heavy hitters of our political, our economic, our banking world, whatever. We were right down there where it all was happening. And I learned that everybody is just a human being
That's
underneath it
right.
all. You know, they're
Yep.
just guys and girls like us, and they just have a way of talking that's a little bit bankies, but they're just regular folk. And coming into the art world professionally as a career, understanding that money isn't different from anybody. It's still just human beings. And when you respect them that way, when you talk to them on that level, they feel more comfortable with you. And so I've been able to move my art through fairly affluent circles with confidence and not be intimidated by it. And they've welcomed it. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. I am going to switch over here to the next one, but we did have one question because the audience was asking me, what was your pivotal moment in 2009, when you finally decided I'm going to leave the corporate world and move to art full time?
That's a very loaded question. But that's why we're here. Well, I I have just prefaced this conversation with my history of watercolor. And all through my years of watercolor, I loved it dearly. I still paint in watercolor from time to time, but I could never sell watercolor. And therefore, there was no career in my path in watercolor. And I tried. I did art shows.
Mhm.
I utilized all of my marketing skills, but I like to think that my watercolors were pretty good. I don't beat myself up over that. I think after 35 years, I learned to paint fairly well in watercolor. But maybe it was because I was trying to be that guy too much. I was trying to emulate that uncle of mine, who was very successful. Whatever the reason, it wasn't working. And I remember I staged a big art show with maybe 20 some odd paintings, watercolor, framed, double matted, non-glare glass, very expensive.
Right.
And the venue, I had to pay for the venue and all the snacks and, well, all the things that you do to put on an art show. And I think I sold 3 paintings, and one of those paintings was one of my aunts bought it.
Right.
Well, I just kind of became a little bit disheartened with it all. And I remember feeling like this is going nowhere. So I started to pour myself more into my banking career at the time. I started to become more aspirational in terms of moving up the ladder in the bank and doing things that were, you know, kind of like that road, forget about
Right.
art. I remember saying to my wife at the time, um, honey, if you like, you can hang some IKEA pictures on the wall. If you guys have IKEA in the States, I don't even know.
We do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Well, okay. So if any of you have IKEA art on the wall, forgive me. But I'm just going to say that for an artist who makes art, to say to your partner that you could just hang IKEA art on the wall instead
Right.
of mine, that's a pretty low point for any artist, I want to say. And I was at that place where I had given up on myself. And for 2 years, I laid my brushes down and I didn't paint a thing. So then I remember the thing that really sealed it was we had a new house at the time, and we had a big basement that I used to paint in. There was no furniture. It wasn't finished. It was just whatever, a big mess. And we had all our house paint down there and stuff. And my first son, who was at the time 6 or whatever, this is Foster now, he had gotten into the house paint with my watercolor brushes without me knowing it.
Right.
And he had painted on the floors and the walls and stuff. He wanted to be like his dad.
Right.
God, God bless his soul. Well, I didn't discover those brushes until the day after.
Mm.
And those hundreds of dollars of sable watercolor brushes and yada
Right.
yada so on were completely ruined. And I sort of took that as a nail in the coffin. That was like, okay, that's it. It's not your fault, Foster. Don't feel bad. It's okay. It's the end of watercolor for me. And I just really went into this dark place where if you're an artist and you can't do your art, you feel really lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt very lost. And then one day, one of the two aunts that came with my mom and me to my Uncle Jack's so many years earlier, uh, she showed up at my door, and she had a box in her hands, and it was a shoebox, but you couldn't tell it was a
Right.
shoebox. It was covered in cigar ashes, soot, paint stains. It was just reeking of nasty, nasty pipe smoke. And she had gotten it from a neighbor of hers who was an elderly artist, and he'd passed on. But before he passed, he said to her that I want you to give my paints, my tools, all of my brushes to somebody who you think will really make use of it. Well, she thought of me. Now, I was a watercolor painter. And on top of that, I had quit watercolor. So, what do I want with this box of oil paints? What do I want with that paint
Right.
over your mistakes kind of stuff? I was one of those artists over there. I wasn't going to be like those guys over there, you know. Anyway, she gave them to me. She said, Robbie, that's what she used to call me. She said, Robbie, I think you're going to be a good artist. And she said, I want you to take these, and when you're ready to use them, just use them. So I took them. I put them in the basement, and I didn't touch them for another year after that. I remember one day, I was passing by my local art store in my hometown, and I hadn't been there for months. I decided to go in. And the sales girl, she said, well, you know what? Why don't you try oil just for the fun of it? She said, get yourself one of these little 6-inch by 6-inch canvases. Get two in case you like it.
Right.
So then she sold me some olive green oil paint and Prussian blue and titanium white. Uh, It's funny because those are the same colors that my uncle gave me when I was 6 years old on his
Right.
easel. She had no idea about that story.
Right.
I took the paints home and I used a knife. I
Love
have
my
the
color.
knife right here, as a matter of fact. This is
Right.
this is the very same knife
Nice.
Now it's got cat hair. Oh my God, look at it. And it's gummed up. Look how nasty that is. Well, you just take a razor blade and scrape that
That's
off and it's
right.
on you, right?
That's
Get
right.
around to that. But you can tell that I'm using this.
Mm-hmm.
So I did this little painting and of a little place along the St. Lawrence River out of Quebec. And it was ever so elementary. But I want to tell you the viscosity, the movement of the oil
Mm-hmm.
paint on the canvas,
Mm-hmm.
the scraping sound of that knife on
Right.
the, it was
I know.
very, yeah, it was
I love
very, very ethereal.
it.
It
In
was,
love.
yeah, you know,
Mm-hmm.
am I making that point clear?
Yes, I know that feeling. Mm-hmm.
Right. And I remember loving it. And then I painted on the second one. Now, the story explodes from there, but for the point of this conversation and to answer that question, I was now on a path of no return and I would never go back to watercolor. I began painting again and it launched, I like to say, the bigger part of my art career.
That is awesome.
Mm.
Absolutely awesome. What a phenomenal story, and that's it, guys. You never know, and next thing you know, you're launching a whole new venture and a whole new career
Mhm.
and getting pretty well known for your amazing work. Absolutely amazing work. And I do have this picture, but a different version we're going to show at the end. But this truly, I had to use this. This is amazing. And, you work in all different sizes too. I mean, this one is extremely large. You can see that you have the ones that are smaller behind you. But I
Mhm.
think that's one of the things I like about oil painting too. Like for me, the larger the canvas, the better because of that movement. It's like a whole body experience. I don't know how you feel with this, but if you want to tell us about this, this is phenomenal.
One of my favorite paintings.
Hmm.
It's called Path to Wolf Lake. There is a friend in Quebec, uh, Quebec and Ontario, Canadian Shield. We're part of the big forest, rocky, landscape. Um, Most of Canada's population runs right along the bottom edge of Canada, snugged right
Right.
up against the United States. And you go north about 2 hours from anywhere along our border, you're into this kind of territory. And I visited a friend in Quebec, and he took me canoeing to a lake called Wolf Lake, I should say. We went to Otter Lake as well, but this was Wolf Lake. And I did a few sketches, small sketches out of the canoe. We were working on a documentary there about my art. There was a filmmaker there from Vancouver, and she was in the canoe with me, and she would sit up at the front pointing a camera at me, and I would be painting while we were talking about the art and what have you. But I was working on sketches for Path to Wolf Lake, and when I got home to Toronto, where I live, I started to work on this. Now this is a diptych, so it's two canvases.
Mhm.
They're 36 inches by 48, I think they were.
Each one?
So right, and
Yeah, I
so
love that size.
yeah. Now the funny thing is I mean, I love to work on large canvases. I'm really more known for my big paintings. The last few years, I haven't done very many, but this was right at the height of my large canvas period. And but the reason why I was doing two a diptych was because at the time I didn't have a van. I just had a Honda. I had a Honda Civic,
Oh, I know
and
that.
two 48 by no 36 by 48 canvases could go in the back seat.
That's right. That's
And you could I mean you could if you had to, you could carry them on a bus if you had to.
right.
So with that, I could get canvases from the art store. I could bring them home. I could paint them, and then when they're dry, I could just put them in front of each other, bundle them up, and ship them that way too. It made them
Mhm.
cheaper to ship too. You see, when
Right.
you ship, they ship by size and weight. So if you do a diptych, you can cut that in half, and it's a lot cheaper to ship them. Okay.
Right.
But this is Path to Wolf Lake, and I really, really wanted a painting that kind of leaned into an ethereal kind of an experience, realistic to a degree, but you have to step back to feel that realism, because up close you see how unrefined it is and how kind of blobby and messy it is. But step back to 7 or 8 feet back and you get the gist
Mhm.
that this is the morning glow that's starting to rise over the hills.
Right.
And there's always a fog that sits in the valley. And as the sun rises, it starts to burn that fog off, and the glow of the red and the orange and the yellows through the trees, through the mist, is this. And so, Path to Wolf Lake, that is literally, I'm pointing at my phone right now, but you can
Right.
imagine
Right.
I'm pointing at the pointing at the painting.
Right.
But there it is, just off center a little bit. Trying to trying
Yes.
to respect that rule of off the
Mhm.
center, but just
That's
slightly
right.
to the right. And it twists to the right further, and then it hangs to the left and it goes down to the water. And there's Path to Wolf Lake. Now, when you paint big paintings, I'm here to tell you, they don't sell cheap. So
No.
I've sold quite a few large ones, but there's a few that have defied um, the final destination, shall we say. In other words, they haven't sold yet. This is one of them, and it's still with me. But it's gonna hit. It's gonna hit one day. It's gonna find the right
Mhm.
home, and they're gonna say, I have to have it. How do we get it? And I'm gonna say, okay, this is how you do it. But it's been with me for almost 10 years. So let's put it that way.
Right. Well, there's a lot of time that goes into this more than the others because they are so big. And then the shipping costs and then just the massive size. And mine are all 36 by 40s, most of my work. And that's another thing too, because they're like, I'm sorry, what? And you're like, that's what they are, and you got to respect that time, love, passion, and soul into it. And I'm sure, and hopefully we will help promote this too, because this is my favorite of all of yours. So I hate to pick a favorite, but everything about it, the size, the colors, and I'm just mesmerized by this piece and the fact. And I've had a little car like that too, where you're talking about I can only fit two 36 by 40s in it. Now I have more of like a station wagonish kind of car where my husband makes racks that I can put in more. And he makes me cases because I'm like, I can only put two. But a great thing about this too is like you can pick them up like shields, and walk with them. But this is magnificent. And I hope that it does find the right home. And whoever grabs this one, you are not going to be sorry. It's so beautifully done.
Thank you.
Absolutely
I
mesmerizing.
I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to that day. It's not an inexpensive painting. I'll be frank,
No,
and just put the warning out there. But
it's
got
phenomenal.
a couple of years of work in it, and when you see it, I like to say about my paintings that if you like them online, you'll love them in person.
Hmm.
And the reason
I
for that,
agree.
of course, as you know, as all of our artists out there know, the textures speak.
Mhm.
The shadows, the shades, the colors are much more powerful in person. So anyway, enough of a sales pitch about this one. We'll just let it
No,
go right
but I
there. Eh?
agree. I say that a lot. I mean, I'll see people's artwork, and I'll see a photo of it, and then I'll see it in real life, and I'm like, photography just doesn't do it justice. And I've had some photographers take some amazing pictures of me and my work, and it still doesn't do it justice as when you are literally there in person. I agree with you, and this is phenomenal piece.
One of the hardest things to do, and I'm sure you've experienced this, is when a publication or a podcast or somebody wants some pictures. If they send a photographer, it used to be in the old days when you were in magazines and stuff, they'd send their photographer, but the way they would position the lights and things
Mhm.
would be glare on the paintings. It was just a horrible experience, and they could never really do it justice. So I'm almost exclusive about. I have to provide you the pictures if you're going to publish
Right,
something. But I think they're 90% realistic, but still, you got to see it in person.
right. I agree. All right, tell us about this wonderful piece.
So this is a copper mine point, and this is in Lake Superior. Lake Superior it blesses both the Canadian side and the American side. It is what they refer to it as the largest inland ocean on the planet.
Mhm.
Lake Superior is a massive, massive body of water.
Right.
And on the Canadian side, we have the highest cliffs and the most dramatic, because on the north side and the way the Canadian Shield works and the way the winds blow, all that stuff, the geography of it all. We have the most rugged personality of Lake Superior. It's referred to as the North Shore for that reason. And Coppermine Point is one of the most rugged places. Now, this painting is done on a piece of loose canvas. It is currently still rolled up in a
Wow.
cupboard. Okay. And the reason why is because I just like this painting behind me that's stuck on the wall over here. It's tacked onto the wall without a stretcher. It's the loose canvas. And I just quickly put an idea on the canvas and then I started to work it over time.
Right.
And that's what Coppermine Point is. That's where it comes from. It's done now. It's fully dry. It's rolled. It's ready to go. By the way, when you ship a rolled painting, it's the cheapest way to move a painting. You can take it
Right.
to your local framer, and you can have them stretch it for you and frame it if you want. But Coppermine Point, it just speaks to the vastness of Lake Superior. It speaks to the ruggedness. There are no fast food joints close to this point. You know,
Good.
it's the real deal. It's nature raw and rugged.
I love it. Absolutely love it. You know, there's a lot of places too when you're going overseas, everyone, that you have to take your frames, take your canvases off of frames and roll them if you want to take them and travel with them. So
Correct.
I know all about that too. But I love it. The water and just the breaking of the water in itself is just absolutely magnificent.
Thank you. I appreciate you pointing that one out because I feel like it's one of the black sheep in my painting family. It gets overlooked a lot, but again, it's one of those paintings I wish people could see more,
Mm-hmm. I agree. Absolutely magnificent. Now, I am an abstract painter, so you know that I am like, what in the world? I love this. Go ahead.
Well, shall I tell you about this one?
Yes. About every one of them, please.
Yeah. I have been struggling with the name for this. I call it my street. I call it the neighborhood, my house. I don't know. Can you see a house in that somehow? There's a little roof.
Right?
There's the shape of other
Right. Like
things.
street. Mm-hmm.
Well, it didn't start out with any intentional point or purpose. It was an abstract, straight up pure abstract. It was just shapes and started out with the colors. And then I added the black lines to define some areas. And then I realized I was starting to define it too much. And I backed off completely and left it as it is. It is just 7 or 8 feet to my left over here, hanging on the wall, as you see it right there. And
Right.
this is I think going back to the part of this artist that wants to break free from perfection,
Mm-hmm.
to liberate from all the rules and the forms and the shapes and the cliches. I spoke about that right from the outset of our conversation about trying to break free from cliches.
Right.
So, over the last couple of years, I've had a couple of break free periods where I just went to my art store and picked up the biggest canvases that they had in stock. And this is 48 inches by 60 inches or 60 inches high.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I just smeared paint on them. Man, was that ever fun?
It
Oh,
is.
oh my goodness.
Right?
That was just like
Mm,
take off the kid gloves, man, and
thank you.
just get partying, baby.
Mm-hmm. I love
And
that. Go ahead.
thank you. Thank you. It was just liberating, as anybody
Mm-hmm.
knows who's done more of a fine art all their life, and then you do abstract work. Now, here's a question for your followers out there, and I would love to get people involved in this discussion here because I love abstract.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I would do a lot more of it, but it just hasn't been uh, an easy sell for me. And because I make my living in art, I do have to lean a lot of what I do to what I can sell. Of course, I gotta eat, you
Right.
know, I gotta have my tea, you know. But when the abstract paintings sell, they sell for crazy amounts of money.
Mm-hmm.
But the sale between them is few and far between, you know. So I want to know from your viewers, what do you think? What's been your experience with this? Do you find that abstract it moves well for you, or are you stacking them up like I am? um,
Well, there's multiple reasons a lot of our artists, and I have had them on the show and had these discussions right now, that things are stacking up as we
yeah,
see this new movement going, where you can just buy an IKEA or you can just buy a poster that's already pre-made. And we'll get to that because you posted something. It will come back to the original artist. But right now, people are playing with a new thing. And if it can be so much cheaper to have something just created for you and whatever. When I see abstract artists that sell, it's usually office buildings, because they like something that kind of just goes with, maybe a color theme, but doesn't necessarily make sense per se. So you can vision it, whatever. And so I've seen that kind of more in that direction. But I'm getting the same thing from a lot of my artists because things are really slowing down for a lot of people right now.
mm,
And like you said on your little comment on the very end, I think it will come back, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. But people can answer for yourself. If you guys are selling this, I love abstract artists, and I encourage new artists to start with abstract just to even learn how to play with the medium that you're using, because it's so freeing. It doesn't have to make any rhyme or reason, and it's a great way to experience a medium and just have fun. Because if you don't have fun creating art and you just start to think, oh, I've got to create this masterpiece and it needs to look like this person and I've never done this before, right? It might be really overwhelming and you don't even know the medium. So even with my students, I'm like, abstract first. I'm like, here we go. And just, I want you to play. I want you, whatever, let's listen to music. Let's just paint that. And so that they can just have some fun. And I love abstract. I'm very much an abstract artist myself. So I love that.
well,
You know,
one of my favorite artists, and I don't mind giving credit to this series. There's a series called The Power of Art. It's by a British documentarian, Simon Schama. Probably a few of your viewers know that name. He's very well known. Um, but he delved into abstract artists like de Kooning, uh, like Rothko,
mm-hmm.
and many other names. And I'm like everybody else, when I first saw Rothko, I was like, what the heck, squares, man. I mean,
I love it.
big blobs of red, but I loved it too. Oh yeah, I'm with you
Mm-hmm.
on that.
Right.
I was smitten when I saw it. But the era of abstract, the heyday of abstract seemed to have been in the 60s, 50s and 60s, 70s maybe. Um, but I don't want to say that it's dead. So I want to know, what do your viewers think about that? Do you agree
Well,
with me, or do you think that it's just waiting to resurgence again?
I think that it is. And it's really interesting. So somebody in the chat, Frosty says his abstract art does not move well. I love the Russian abstract artist Wassily Kandinsky. He's one of my, I guess, idol per se. When I think
Sure.
of abstract, I'm working on
Yeah.
something right now currently that's going to be an honor to him. But when I was in school, when I was in the colleges, right,
Yeah.
my work that was abstract drew way more attention than anything that I did that was like, like, I'm not trying to say a pretty little flower or landscape or whatever. What I did with my statement pieces and my whatever and my emotions, I mean, literally drew people in. Now, whether they sell or not, that's a different thing. But the reaction, and that was just in 2020. So I'm hoping that comes back. And I'm hoping all real artwork, continues to thrive, guys. I know you guys all, like me, do a lot of soul and work and effort into your pieces. So, but I love abstract. I just think that there has to be a certain market for it.
Yeah,
Libraries,
yeah,
office buildings,
yeah,
medical offices, hospitals, where it can be
yeah.
just there. But I don't see like people per se buying it so much. They want the landscapes, they want the whatever. So I think, but offices and things like that, I think that that's where it's at for your abstract art.
I think I'd love to sell this to a real estate company. I can tell you that right now.
Right.
The neighborhood. Anyway, I think what you said about the reaction,
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that 100%, because most people that look at abstract, they thumb their nose up at it. They're like, what is that? The Rothko, I like to call it the Rothko impact.
Right.
But the ones who love it
Love it.
come with a passion like I've never seen in
Right.
any other way. So the few abstracts that I've sold, I think maybe, if I be honest, maybe 4 or 5 large ones like this. Um, well, let's just take the last one that I sold was in fact a real estate broker in Toronto. Um, and I was telling him this story about how I struggled to sell them. And he knows I've only sold maybe 4 or 5. And he goes, well, that's great. He said, that's fantastic, because I can say that I have one of the
Mhm.
very few
Right.
McAfee abstracts.
Right.
Well, I
That's right.
guess it all depends on how you look at it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, do more abstract, guys, because I think it's a lot of fun and freeing. Even if you don't use it to sell, I encourage you to try it to just have fun when you're learning how to paint. It's really freeing. Really freeing.
Yeah.
All right, my friend, the next one.
Wow. You know, I'm pausing while I look at this. It's my newest really large painting. This is 48 by 60 as well. This is from Algonquin Park, okay? So there's my mug. See? And the way you pronounce that is Algonquin. And
Algonquin, thank you.
Algonquin Park is one of Canada's, I think it's actually Canada's largest national park. Um, I guess about 200 kilometers in width and about maybe 600 kilometers from top to bottom. And it was set aside back in the 60s by the federal government at the time as you can't build here, you can't develop, you can't do nothing. Okay. This is meant to be for people to enjoy what this great land is made of, and you can't pollute it, you can't do nothing. And if
Right.
you want to build a cottage there, too bad. If you got a cottage already, good for you, but you can't build any new ones. Okay. So the group of 7, Tom Thomson, Lauren Harris, AJ Casson, all those guys, uh, their careers were born out of the art that they did in Algonquin Park. And as a Canadian growing up in Canada, going to school in Canada, we're born in the group of 7, storytelling and art history lessons and what have you. So it's in all of our blood. It's in mine. And for me, this painting really speaks to that rugged, gnarly. Look at the trees falling down there.
Right.
Look at they've gotten old, and the ice has built up and pushed them over. The loggers are gone a long time ago, and they've left their rough refuse all over the place.
Mhm.
It's the waters rise and fall, so it's swampy, and then it's flooded, and then it's, well, man, we just love that.
Right.
you know, we just dig that kind of. I can't speak well. Judging by how many millions of people come to Ontario every year from all over the world and visit Algonquin Park is one of their go-to places, I'm pretty convinced that it's not just Canadians that love this kind of ruggedness. So this painting speaks to that. put on your boots, bring your bug spray, and get out there and enjoy nature the way it truly is meant to be enjoyed. So that's what this painting is all about.
Beautiful. So a question from the audience: do you sketch out your paintings, or is everything just freehanded what you're visioning in your mind?
Yeah. So when I go up north, north being anywhere more than 45 minutes north of where I live, truthfully, you got to go 2 hours before you get away from population. More if you want to get really away from population. But whenever I go, I bring a stack of boards or panels. Looking around to see if I have any here. Yeah.
To kind of sketch what you're seeing.
So here's a piece of birch panel.
Okay.
Okay. You can see the wood grain and stuff, and it's very flexible. You know, it's a little birch panel. And there's the little sketch that I did on location. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Plein air. Mm-hmm.
Right. Plein air. Yeah. And why birch panels? Well, why not canvas? Well, if you think about the practicality of going out in a canoe or hiking in the woods and carrying 10 canvases, you're going to carry a stack that's
Right.
that thick.
Good idea.
But when you carry these, you're carrying a stack that's that thick, and you can take more of them. So you can paint to your heart's content and never run out. Okay.
Right.
So I sketch these quick little sketches on location, and I don't beleaguer the point. I don't waste a lot of time. Frankly, I really don't like bugs. Uh, frankly, I really don't care for horse flies and black
Right.
flies. They're just nasty little buggers they are.
Right.
The thing I really don't care for are those big black bears, you know, and
Right.
they're
Right.
very sharp teeth, you know. I just don't like the way they grip onto your arm and pull you around the forest.
Right.
Don't care for it, you know. I, I
Awesome.
I especially don't like it when they, you know, when they try to kiss you. You know,
Oh my gosh.
they're just nasty creatures, and they stink. You know, they just stink from a mile away. So I've had
You got it
three.
quick. Right.
I've had three encounters with bears over
Wow.
the years, and I'm well acquainted with how to watch for them. But the point is I don't spend longer in the woods than I have to. And
Right.
I want to say, you know, I'm going to burst a bunch of bubbles here, but the truth is when I was younger, I spent a lot of time roaming around the woods. But the older I get, I don't camp out there anymore. I just don't care for, you know, sleeping on the ground and stuff like that.
Right.
I usually take day trips up into the woods and what have you. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's what I do. I sketch them on these, and I stack them all up and put them in my canvas bag and bring them home, and they're usually stuck together by the time I get home, and I have to peel them apart. Um, so then I also, oh, by the way, I also take photographs. Um, we
Of
can
what you're
talk
saying.
about, yeah, we can talk about photography, you know, at a different point. But the fact is photography is a huge part of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I shoot with, these old 100-year-old cameras,
Nice.
the kind that you look down through the top like that. You see.
Oh, that's
Uh,
awesome.
and they're filmed, so I have to develop the film myself. And anyway, the point is I take pictures of the scenes that I'm painting so that I have a broader context. I have the color, I have the depth, I have what else is going on outside of the painting, and different kind of compositions. So I bring all of that home, and then I work on the bigger projects. And I also do lots of more sketches when I'm home as well, just because I love to do them.
And just real quick, so when you're saying sketches, you're not using a pencil. You're using paint to sketch, correct?
Paint.
Paint
Yeah.
guys. So yeah, he's doing mini paintings and then he uses them to do his larger pieces.
Yeah, I haven't done a pencil sketch in 25 years, something like that. I use I use uh, I use my what I call sketch brushes. Now, this always freaks people out whenever I do online demonstrations. Look at how mucky that brush is. Oh my goodness. But here's a working artist brush, and I keep it in linseed oil. And when I travel, I put linseed in a little Ziploc bag and I stick my brushes into it so they stay oiled at all times. And when I take it out, I simply get one of my trusty rags here.
Mhm.
Beer cloths are good for lots of things beyond beer, right? Uh,
Right.
so then I just wipe it clean so that I don't have it dripping all over my hands. And with that little sharp little point, that becomes my sketching tool. And I usually use Van Dyke Brown or Prussian Blue or a mixture of them both. And I do lines that create the outlines of the painting. And then just like paint by number, I fill in the gaps with color. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. You guys, and his work is absolutely phenomenal. This is a triptych. And I love that you love painting large. That's another thing. I mean, littler ones, and when I say littler, it's like 16 by 22 or something. Those to me are little. I have done some 9 by 16s that just kind of freak me out, but I do it.
Yeah.
But I feel, and I wanted to ask you a question too, because there's something just super freeing to me on creating very large pieces. So, I mean, do you feel that same way too? Is that's what draws you to that?
That is heaven on earth right there.
Mhm.
That's where the real pleasure of art really happens. And I haven't been doing that many large ones lately. There's reasons for that, but uh, the small paintings are very liquid, and I mean small as in 8 by 10, 11 by 14. They sell very quickly. I've found a price point that they just keep going. I like to refer to them as bread and butter. Um, it's larger than that, the price point starts to get a little bit out of range for a lot of people. So the
Mhm.
higher the price goes, the slower the movement is. So
Right.
so when you get into big paintings, especially like this, they take time. This painting, this is called Georgian Bay, and it's a massive painting. It's 336 by 48s in a row. Um, it's a couple of years at least.
Right.
And when you do a painting this size, you're committing to the fact that you might have this in your collection for a long time.
Mhm.
Because
No.
the price point is not everybody's cup of tea.
Mhm.
It it's often said to me that, well, maybe it'll go into a corporate collection. I sell very few to corporate collections.
Right.
These paintings, as big as they are, they end up in people's homes. Uh, they flank a dining room table very nicely. They flank a staircase to the second floor very nicely. They also work in a large family room if your kids aren't throwing paint around.
Right.
um, but they also work in boardrooms. They also work in
Mhm.
corporate spaces, and they work anywhere you want to put it. Um, I had a customer years ago who really kind of convinced me to go large because I went to visit her at her house, and in her little condo, I'm talking 1,500 square feet, with not a very big living room, but she was a bit of a minimalist. And what she did was she had two sofas and a coffee table, and on the wall she had a big 8 foot from floor to ceiling, an 8 foot by 10 foot
Wow.
abstract. Man, I was smitten, and I
Right.
I knew right away that it was okay to go large.
Mhm.
But also, besides the fact that it's just a straight up joy to have a project that you keep coming back to, working on, or and you got to have 3 or 4 of these going on at the same time. You got different paintings, and you're just spending all your time. You never wonder to yourself, what am I going to do today? Because it's all around you, and you just keep going back and working on them. And one day, they get to a point where you feel that they're finished. Um, Take a proper photograph, put it on your website, start to market it, and maybe it sells quick, maybe it doesn't. But when they do, that's a lot of bread and butter. You know,
Mhm.
that's a lot of gas tanks.
Yeah. Yes.
You know,
Yes.
pays the rent for a couple of years. Um, and so what I'm saying is, it's a joy to paint them. It's a work of love to paint them. Uh, but also going back to my Black's photography marketing years, when you walk into a store, you'll see the cameras that are cheap little pocket cameras, throwaways. You'll see the cameras that are middle of the road hobby photographers. And then you'll see the cameras that are the pro cameras, and the prices reflect those different kinds
Right.
of products.
Right.
And any good retailer has that kind of a broad selection in their inventory. And so for me, I liken it to a car dealership. I got the clearance cars over there, and I've got the economy cars in the middle, and I got the Cadillacs over there. And if you want Cadillacs,
Right.
I've got them.
Right.
And I got a couple of Rolls Royces too.
Nice. This is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely amazing. All right. Where are we at now in this one? Oh, I
This
just
is
love
a this is a 48 by 72. Thank you very much.
yeah.
48 by 72. It's one of my largest single canvas paintings. It's called Memories. Uh, it is not of a specific location, but it is a very philosophical painting. This painting is all about our collective memories of going on family trips, um, camping trips with friends, hiking, fishing, whatever we did as kids or growing up as adults. This is speaking to all of our collective passion for the wilderness, for the North. And I purposefully kept those foreground trees kind of spindly and thin so that you could see through and get to the vastness of the lake beyond there. The islands that you see are reflective of our Great Lakes and our very much a Canadian wilderness sort of a situation. We have a lot of these rocky islands all throughout our lakes, and so it's reflective of that. But certainly, anybody visiting Canada who's been to our north would identify with this, and would be able to enjoy that.
Man, I love it. And I'm seeing this reaction in the chats a lot with the water. Loving how you created the water effect in here too, with this multiple line, work with different, beautiful shades. Just really did a great job. And I'm grabbing all these comments as much as I can because that one just lit everybody up right now with this water effect.
Oh,
Very
thank
cool, isn't
you,
it, everyone? Right?
thank
They're
you,
loving it.
thank you. It is a it's what I get all kinds of references to it. Patchwork, cross stitch,
Mhm.
stained glass windows. People often
That's a
think
good
of
one too.
these as stained glass windows. I don't know what you want to call it. To me, when I'm painting broad, vast areas of canvas, I get I get bored fast, and I just can't be bothered doing mundane. So I got to break the space up into sort of geometrical shapes. It's a little bit on the abstract side, and so that's where the lines come from, and the sky is sort of broken up into little spaces.
Right?
But I'm very, very honored and pleased to know that people really enjoy this. This is one of my most popular styles of painting with my clientele,
Right? I see that. And it
and
is truly.
still available, by the way.
Guys go. There you guys go. Awesome.
Yeah.
Oops. Wait. Okay, there we go. All right. This next piece, man. Love this. Look at the ruggedness of the rocks. Okay, go ahead, please.
I can't even remember what I called this one. I should look these things up.
Right?
It's actually one of my newest large paintings too. I I only have three kids, but sometimes I scramble up their names. It's awful. But anyway, My father had 6 kids. Both of my grandparents on my mom and dad's side had 10 and 12. And I don't know how they did it.
I don't know. My parents just they had many too, and they just start going down the line until one of us answered. I think
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but
Anyways,
well, with my paintings, I lose track of their names, so I'm sorry. I could look it up, but we'll
right,
we'll just say that this is about 6 months old. I just finished it a while ago.
nice,
It's just dried enough that I can move it out to my storage area. Um, this is 36 inches by 60 inches.
nice.
It's a big sweeping vista of what our shorelines up north look like when they're particularly stormy. The waves just kind of roll up on the rocks and they just rush over the peninsulas. They bend those trees over. And the trees, well, we like to call them our twisty pines, but they exist all around the Great Lakes, and they exist because their little tiny roots grow around the rocks, and they survive for hundreds of years through ice and snow and wind and rain and heat and waves and but they just keep on
Surviving,
existing.
right?
They're survivors.
Mm-hmm.
And this painting speaks to surviving, to fortitude, to endurance. And many of your viewers from their own personal lives have experienced all of those things, or maybe going through things that require some perseverance. Um, there's a lot of philosophy, there's a lot of spirituality behind this painting, but it comes down to those elements of survival.
Right. Getting strengthened through the storm. I understand that. I lived in a place one time where it was so windy. So most of the time, at least for several months, twice a year, you'd have 50-mile-per-hour winds. And these trees, like you said, they just hunkered down and just bared through the storms. And it's just amazing, isn't it? To see that kind of stuff. But it also gives them such character and shape and, like you said, resilience, and it is just beautifully done. What you've done also with this amazing color that you've added to the rocks to provide such beautiful texture is also wonderful. A beautiful contrast to the bright blue waters. Really beautiful.
Thank you. The rocks because they get washed over along the shorelines. They get mossy in some areas, so that's why you have a little bit of green on some of the rocks. It's the moss, but you're right. The survival of these things
Right.
is just remarkable.
That's right. I agree, guys. You can absolutely see the movement in this painting. Very nice eye. Beautifully done. We
Thank
are
you.
loving that. You're welcome. Look at the colors in this. Tell us where we are on this one.
I'm looking at that one right now. It's sitting
Yeah.
right over here beside me. This is an 11 by 14.
A small one
Right?
for you.
Yeah, it sure is. No kidding. There's a reason for that. I'll
I have a
tell
real quick question before you
yeah,
describe this one. Is it
yeah.
harder for you to do the smaller canvases versus the big ones? Do you find it any struggle in that?
Uh, Not really. It's a yin and yang. It's a I small paintings are my bread and butter, as I said before.
Right, right.
The price points work for most people. They're easy to package up and ship,
Mm,
so that there's that. During COVID, I just sold truckloads of these small paintings. It was just
wow.
crazy how fast they were selling during that time.
Congratulations on that, though. I mean, that's awesome.
Thank you. I thought for sure when COVID happened, like everybody else, I
It's
thought
gonna
for
shut
sure.
down.
I
Right,
thought we were locked down and done. And when you make your living from art and you can't do art shows and you can't distribute to galleries and you can't do nothing, I thought we were toast. Really did. But then people got stuck at home and started looking at their computers,
right.
and they started visiting robertmcafee.com. And boy, what an
Hey,
awakening. What an awakening. I don't wish for COVID to ever happen again, but
right.
I'm
Wow.
ready if it does. um, so prior to COVID, I did a lot of 8 by 10 paintings. So I have
Okay.
hundreds of eight. I have an archive right over here that is chock full of hundreds of 8x10 paintings. They are very rough in nature, very loose. And your question was, do I enjoy doing these? Well, yes, I do, but no, because I tend to rush through them a little bit, and they tend not to be as refined.
Right.
Now, the people that buy them tell me they love that about them. They love the looseness about them. Well, that's wonderful. I'm thrilled. But for me, they're just their practice, their rehearsal space. They're preparing for a bigger canvas kind of a thing. They're a runway towards that. But
Well,
what I found was ever since COVID, the 8x10s, and I'm looking around. Of course, I don't have one close by, of course. But the 8x10s, uh, the prices got beat down quite a bit. Now, I used to fetch, and this is all in Canadian dollars, by the way. So when you translate that to US dollars, just it's about 30% cheaper, 35% cheaper for Americans to purchase Canadian art. Just throw that in. Uh, yeah, and make sure everybody caught that, eh? But a McAfee 8x10 in Canada is typically $400 to $500. After COVID, that got started to get beat down a little bit, so now it's $200 to $300, unframed. Okay.
right.
At the same time, there's been things happening in our political sphere. We won't go there, but I'll just say that the cost of wood and materials
Sure.
has been getting hit with tariffs. So it's been pushing the price of things to a crazy high, which is kind of hurting the sales to some degree. But at the same time, you got to keep selling, so prices are getting pushed down a little bit. That's how the economics are going with that. I can't get around it right now. It won't be that way forever, but for now it's that way. But what I'm saying is to beat that problem, I decided to stop painting 8x10s and move into 11x14s. So this painting that you're featuring here right now is an 11x14. It's one of the first that I did in 11x14 format. I have sold most of the 11x14s, and they are averaging $560 to $660, around $600 roughly in Canadian dollars. We're talking probably more like $350 to $450 in American dollars. But that has enabled me to fetch a little bit better price, to keep putting bread in my kitchen, to keep my tea supply going, In other words, it's been supporting the artist, and I'm resisting 8x10 because I don't want to go to that low price point, especially not right now. So 11x14 kind of rationalizes that to some degree. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. And we're loving the colors on this one too. I love that you sent me this one too, because this kind of reminds me of every year I take one of my paintings and I turn it into a Christmas card. And I saw this and I didn't know if you did the same, but I thought, this is just to inspire you guys. If you're artists out there, get your work and make your cards, it's a great idea. So I don't know if you did that, but I think this is really beautiful.
I have a friend whose name is Mary Espinosa. Okay. Google it. Mary Espinosa. Shout out to Mary Espinosa. Wonderful artist. Really great moral, artistic, spiritual support for me. She's been a great friend. But she believes in cards and postcards and gift cards and things. And every time she does shows, she always has a section of her cards. And I don't share that philosophy very much, because I think people will buy your cards sometimes before they'll buy your paintings.
Right.
That's just me. I'm sorry, but so she and I have these robust discussions about this on a regular basis. But it is a great marketing tool for her and for many artists that I know, especially when you're first starting out. It's a great way to circulate what you do to a broader audience, and so in the beginning stages, especially. But the story behind this painting and this card, and by the way, I have never produced cards myself,
Right.
um, but this card in the town where I live, the mayor a year ago approached me about using one of my paintings for her annual Christmas card. And did I have any snow paintings? Well, I don't have very many. I
Right.
resist snow paintings like the plague. Again, just crazy McAfee philosophy. But the truth is I resist it. But I had three, and this was one of them. She loved it. So she chose it, and now this card is in 60 some odd thousand homes in the area
Right.
because it went out at Christmas time. So poo poo on me. I mean, some people love cards, and apparently it really works. So there you go.
Right. Well, my dad being my biggest supporter, he looks at and he shows everybody in the world. It's kind of like, my sales pitch, for other people. This is my daughter's work, and look how beautiful it was with this Christmas card. I'm like, thanks, Dad. But other people do that. And I have a very limited amount. I don't sell out like, hundreds or whatever, but and they're only like for family and really good friends. If you guys want to do that. But it is a great way, like you said, especially if you're beginning and you want your name to get out there for people to have something like this. Right, and what a great thing, and I'm glad that she was able to get a hold of you and buy that right. Also, I'm sure she bought the right to use the image. You guys, that's another thing
well,
too.
well, what she did, and I'll tell you, this is a great little a little tip for budding artists out there. Um, how do you get your work known and seen? Well, when the mayor came to me for this painting, she straight up offered to buy it, and on behalf of the city where I live. Uh, and I was impressed with that. The price wasn't an object, and she would have paid whatever number I laid down on the table. But she was going to put this image in front of 60,000, 100,000 people. I could never in a million years buy that kind of advertising. Okay.
Right.
So I surprised her when the cards were finished and ready. She invited me to come by the mayor's office and have a picture taken with the mayor and holding the painting and the card. And then I presented the painting to her and I said, my compliments. Because if you're going to do that for me, trust me, I'm going to do something really nice for you.
That's nice.
If you're going to put your name on something that I did in a way of a blessing, of a just boost it,
Right.
The mayor
Right.
uses your painting, like
Amazing marketing. Hmm.
it's not hard to make that decision to okay, sure, I'll give it to you. Can I charge her $1,000 for this? Sure, I could, but that would be the end of it.
Right.
However, I know that it spoke to her heart, and I know that it touched her, and it now it hangs on the mayor's office wall, and she tells everybody about it. And you just got to do things like that from time to time. It's a good thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I love that. That's a great story, you guys. So, go out there and make those kind of connections. Because I'll tell you what, and you have a story like this, but it's the same thing with one of my paintings. I used to work for the dean when I was going to grad school, and she was trying to put a picture, of her book, and she was telling me all these kind of things. I go, I have something that might work, and she loved it. And then, yeah, it turns around, she uses it in her book. It's a textbook, and everybody has to buy it every year. How awesome! And I get the kudos, and I get the whatever, and the recognition. So what does the painting do? It goes to her. That's how it works. So I
Yeah,
love
I
that.
mean, why not? Why not? What do you got to lose? Why
Right.
not share what you do with and they're gonna appreciate it. So they're gonna do you
Right.
one favor as well.
Exactly. I agree. This is an amazing piece. You want to tell us about this one?
Birch trees, brand new
Mhm.
painting. I haven't even titled it yet. This is only about a week old. It's kicking around here somewhere close by. It's probably in that pile over there. But um, I guess about 9 or 10 years ago, I stumbled onto this style of painting birch and lakeside scenes. The the sky is particularly gray. It's Prussian blue mixed with Van Dyke brown, believe it or not. The Van Dyke brown is just to muddy up the sky a little bit, not a lot, not ugly like, but just to muddy it up, like an overcast day.
Right, right.
But the water is cobalt, and cobalt mixed with
Mhm.
titanium white. And cobalt, it's just my favorite color on the
I
planet.
know. Hmm.
It's just the most lovely,
Yeah. Do you
beautiful
use
color.
do you use the real cobalt?
I do.
Me too.
I do. There's
I
nothing
love it.
like it.
No,
Yeah,
there's not.
there's nothing like it.
Right.
There's a great company out of Quebec called Kama, Kama. Now, I
Okay.
know I refer to Quebec quite a bit. It just so happens that there was a period of time when I did a lot of work around the Quebec art community. It's a small percentage of my career, but it just so happens in our stories tonight it's coming up a lot.
Right.
But Kama is a Quebec paint manufacturer, and they make the most beautiful pure cobalt and I pay ridiculous amounts of money, as you probably understand, but it's worth every penny.
Mhm. And they last,
So,
well, with me, they last a long time. So yeah, it's worth it for
oh,
me.
well, that's what. See, there's a lot of artists that are starting out will want to know why, when you go to a paint store, artist paint store, why are some tubes $150 and others are $16? It's the amount of linseed oil that they mix into it, and the more expensive it is, the more concentrated it is. So that more expensive paint will go farther, but it will also look richer. And that look richer is what your clients will pay money for. They will see that beauty, it will speak to them, and it almost, again, if you like the painting online, you'll love it in person. Well, partly why you
Right.
love it in person is because when you see those rich colors in person, you'll be gobsmacked, just as I am when I see it coming out of the tube.
Right. And there is nothing like, I mean, and then there's some tubes that say that they are cobalt, but there is a huge difference between being named cobalt blue and the real cobalt blues. Those are usually, way more expensive, but you cannot beat that true color, because even the ones that claim they're cobalt that real aren't true, they get close, but there is nothing like the real. It's the same thing with the
Well,
Cadian, to
yeah,
me.
Canada is a mining country, as you
There
might
you go.
know, and it's a big part of our stock exchange. And north of Toronto, about 5 hours, is one of my all-time favorite places to paint, and it's a region called Temiskaming. And in Temiskaming is a town called Cobalt, and Cobalt has numerous mines that were cobalt mines back in the 50s and 60s. Um, they're mostly closed now, but they're starting to come back to life because of all these electric cars, needing these cobalt powered batteries. Um, Nevertheless, cobalt in the ground, in the rocks, is breathtaking.
Hmm.
And when you juxtapose the cobalt color to those rocks that you see there, and again, I'm going to go back to the sky being a muddy grayish color. When you want your colors to pop, you just have to juxtapose them to colors that are neutral, are a little bit mundane looking. So a grayish sky with that cobalt water and those rocks, yeah, it's fun.
Yes, it is. I was just also kind of on the side looking up at Kama because I've never heard of them before, and they're actually surprisingly cheaper than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Cheaper than what I'm buying them for. So
yeah.
you guys, I just dropped that link for you guys too. If you are interested and want to go check out those
Yeah.
as well, you have that opportunity.
And
Amazing.
I'm not sponsored. God knows I should be,
No,
because I
but
talk
we're
about them
all
all the
looking for
time.
whatever. I mean, I was just looking at some of my favorites, and they're now up to almost like $75 a tube. I'm like, wow, from where I get them. So when you can go find real cobalt for like 35, guys, yeah, you as an artist, you want to go check that out.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, and we're looking at masterpieces here with really beautiful colors. So, if artists that are watching this, there's a little link for you all. This is really beautifully done. I love the contrast and the texture that you have here too, and I love the use of the palette knife. Don't you just love a good palette knife? One
I
of my
do. I
favorite.
mean, I do. Here, I should clean this one up. I should scrape this clean one of these days. But the edge is still the edge is still razor sharp. But anyway, yeah, a lot of people ask me if I paint it with a palette knife or with brush. I am 98% brush, but I love what palette knives do. I can put a large quantity of paint on the surface with these. I can generally block in with these, and then I can use the brush to move the paint around, to position it more, to
Right.
define it more if it needs to. I mean, a knife makes great. Those birch trees, those are knife birch trees.
Right.
So there's really great, yeah, great uses for that.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. All right, tell us about this piece. And then I've got a couple after this that I actually found from your account that I hadn't seen before. You didn't send to me. So I'm like, wow, what are we looking at? So the few after this gives you a whole different option to talk about. But this just is amazing. You sent this in. It's funny because I picked this out from your X account, and then you sent it to me in a message, and I'm like, I already added this one. This one is so beautiful. We talk about blues. Look at this. Where are we, Robert?
Well, for this painting, we are anywhere in Canada when the skies are clear in the cooler months of the year, winter months, when it has to be clear, because when there's pollution or when there's light pollution, you can't see northern lights. Okay.
Right.
The sky gets kind of convoluted, it gets denser. But when you get north, an hour and a half, 2 hours north, depending on the electromagnetic activity, I'm starting to sound like a scientist here, but northern lights are electromagnetic movement through the atmosphere. And some years it's more dramatic, more active than others. When I was a kid, 6 years old, 7 years old, we lived way out in the country outside of the city of Toronto. And every winter we could see the northern lights. And it was spectacular, and it was just like this painting. It hasn't been that way for so many years because the city has exploded. We went from 1.5 million to 7 million people now. It's crazy. So all of the neighborhoods just exploded, and you don't see northern lights. But this year, we have been having the most spectacular northern lights displays. And I mean, it's still not as nice as if you go up to Yellowknife into the Yukon territories, or Alaska, or places like that. Of course, you can't touch that. That's
Right.
northern lights on a whole different level up there. But we've been seeing them down here, even in the light pollution dense area that we live. And so recently I painted this painting, and now I did a whole series of northern lights years ago, about 20 some odd, and all big ones. I don't have any of them anymore. They all have all sold. This one is not sold, but I wish I could say it's available, but unfortunately it got punctured. it something went through it accidentally, and it's finished. I'm sorry to say. So this is a McAfee Northern Lights. It's not available anymore. Too bad. I wish
Right.
it was.
Right. And it's absolutely beautiful. We were lucky enough in some of the states here too to just get glimpses of the northern lights lately too. So I don't know what is going on with the magnetic poles and so forth. But yeah, nothing like you said. I mean, you go up to like your Finland, Netherlands and so forth, you're going to be literally basking in it. But it's amazing that you have that. I'm sorry to hear that. I've had like one painting too that just kind of got the same thing, and it just breaks your heart, especially, you know, when you love something so much and it turns out so well, all of your work does, but mine was something I love so much, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
You know?
It's in my storage locker where I keep most of my paintings,
Nice.
and I just cry whenever I look at it.
Is it fixable at all?
No.
No.
I've learned how to fix canvases. I know how to stitch them, and I know how to do a professional repair. This one is beyond.
Well, I guess you'll have to attempt another version of
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Paint another one, McAfee.
This is absolutely beautiful. I
Thank you.
agree. You
Thank
guys,
you.
I see that you all are loving this too, right? I agree with you, JJ. It looks like the Northern Lights meets the ocean horizon. He says gorgeous. I agree with you guys.
The actual Northern Lights are that
Mhm.
dramatic, if not more, in real life.
Amazing.
They're just magical. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. All right. As a surprise, I saw somebody respond to this and I had to grab it. You just posted this recently, and somebody's like, "This is different for you." But now that we're hearing your story, this isn't necessarily different from you, but this is something that you actually started with is watercolor.
Yes, it is. Well, the story behind this, it's twofold. It's not a long story, but at Christmas time, with my kids, we give each other journals that are blank. And when you receive one of the journals, your job is to fill it up through the course of the year. And next year, you give it back to the person that gave it to you. I started that a few years ago where my son gave me a blank journal and I filled it up for 365 days and gave it back
Wow.
to him. It's not just paintings, but some days are just written feelings. How does your dad feel about things that he's going through? You know, the good things and the bad things, the everything, all the stuff you wish you could ask your dad about. Well, I wanted them to have it in the journal. So I promised them each that when I
Yeah.
filled out their journals, that I would be brutally honest. I'd be happy when I'm happy, and I'd be not happy when I'm not happy. You know,
Right.
I would let these illustrations that are done with a felt tip first, and then filled in with watercolor, so they're kind of more cartoon-like.
Right.
But I wanted them to be true, honest expressions of uh, who their dad really is in the real world. You know, our parents are iconic to us, to most of us. You know, we we grandize them, but in reality, our parents are human beings like everybody else, and I wanted my kids to experience some of that humanity of me. So
Right.
this is one of the first illustrations in the journal that my daughter, my oldest child, she's 28 now, uh, but she just gave me a journal at Christmas time, and this is one of the first entries I put into it. Now, I don't want to give everybody the wrong impression. I'm in a pretty good place now.
Right.
I I've survived a lot of brutal trauma in my life. Um, I've had a pretty darn good life, but I'll just say in a nutshell that 10 years ago there was a separation. Let's put it that way. And what followed separation was a really dark, dark, dark period. Confidence went out the window. Um, and then COVID hit, and just
Right.
even with the sales that were happening, I was stuck alone here in my studio. I couldn't get out and socialize with other people that I know, and it was a dark time. Now, my faith is really strong. I want to be upfront with everybody about that. I have a strong Christian heritage, and all through my years of going to church and doing the things that churchy people do, uh, I want to say that I had what most people would see as a general, you know, church life and faith. But it wasn't until I went through some real personal lows in my life that
Mhm.
I found my knees. You know,
Right. Yes.
I found the floor. I
Yes.
I found the hardwood. Um, because I lost everything.
Mm-hmm. That's where God finds you.
That's where he found me.
That's right.
I lost everything I had. And this door right over here where I came through, it's an apartment that I rent. I used to have a large house and lots of nice stuff, 2 cars in the driveway, yada, yada, yada. I don't have those things anymore.
Right.
And 10 years ago, when I walked through these doors right over here, and the landlord handed me the keys, I walked in and closed the doors behind me. He left, and the place was empty, and I slumped to the floor, and I just felt really gutted. Like this is the rock bottom of rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone through the worst depression, dark phases over the last 10 years, like I can't even begin to describe. And I don't want to dwell on that because that's not what it's about tonight. Uh, but I've had pretty real experiences that way.
Mm-hmm.
And in this sketch, I was saying to my daughter and I was saying to the world around me, um, there is hope and there is a path to a better tomorrow. But sometimes you have to find your way to your knees. You have to bow your head and you have to ask God to help you. Because
Yep.
you'll find out that no matter what you do, you can't change a thing. Okay? No matter how smart you think you are, how rich you think you can lose it all. And you can become as helpless as a baby. And when you finally, for me, I want to tell you, at least for me, I shouldn't say for everybody, but for me, I found my place like this picture where I truly learned that it doesn't matter anymore. Nothing else matters. And then when that happened, I found that my faith in people took a real beating, but my faith in God took a real leap. And
Yep.
since that time, I've begun to uh, emerge out of that.
Right.
So my daughter knows what this is about, and it's just part of me being really honest. There's a brutally serious moment for you.
Well, is you're not the only one. Last night our artist was on, our wonderful Kim from our group. Same thing, talking about the same thing. And I was talking about this too. There's these moments, no matter what you might be going through, where you hit that rock bottom, and it's like that whole I am broken, but who's going to help pull you out? It's going to be God's going to be pulling you out of this situation. And whether, I don't know, you're an addict or you're going through a separation or you're going through whatever, you hit your own personal rock bottom. And that seems like the moment where you really connect with that. And it's like that connection you're talking about, that strong, really super strong, because he's there at your worst time, and you just turn, okay, I'm nowhere, I need you, and voila. And then that connection, like you said, of that relationship gets so strong, and it's exactly what you need, is it pulls you from that place in life. So it's kind of funny, I was sitting there thinking, yeah, the artist last night was talking about the same thing. So
Where the world is right now, where the world
that's
is right
right.
now.
Oh,
Uh,
amen to that.
Especially us here in North America, we are at a place where we should find our way to our knees right now,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
we're trying to do it on our own, and we're trying to fix things that aren't fixable without God's help. That's my little sermon. I'll just throw it out there.
Right.
Uh, that's where we are. Yeah.
You're getting a lot of amens in the chats right now. So you can see that you're getting a lot of support from that. But people are understanding and feeling the exact same thing. I mean, that's one of the things about, my show and having all this kind of stuff too, is because we're seeing that, worldwide, we're seeing that. And, sometimes even here in the States, we kind of get, tunnel vision. I'm like, we're all God's children, but you're seeing this just pocket of explosion around the world, as it should be.
You know
So,
what? We're artists,
mhm,
and we have a message.
that's right.
And if we just paint pretty trees and lakes and rivers and flowers and stuff, well, we're
Right.
no better. We're no better than any hobby artist out there. We're not trying to make a big statement. And well, if we don't get anywhere in our career, we kind of deserve that, because we're not trying to make a statement. Well, I'm not really a political person, and I'm not into social sciences and things, but I have my opinions and I have my observations, and it comes through in my art. And what's
Yeah.
happening between Canada and the United States right now? I have a lot of American clients. I have hundreds of American clients. Some of them have become very close friends of mine. I'm thinking of one out in Oregon right now who is a big collector and a great friend, her and her husband.
Right.
Um, and we were talking about this, and it just occurred to me how just wouldn't it be great if people on either side of the floor at Congress could somehow have a hug day and just come to the middle of the floor and just hug each other
That's
and
funny.
just say, I need you and you need me, and
Mhm.
we need to buck all this crap that's going on, and we need to come together, you know.
Right.
And art for me, my art, because of everything that I've gone through, I feel like as artists we have the ability to reach out, to express hope and love and kindness,
Mhm.
and we can do it. We can paint some pretty moody dark stuff, you know. We can cross into that kind of dark place. I God knows I've got my dark paintings. You just look around my collection, you'll see them.
Right.
They're reflections of what I've gone through. But as I emerge from that, I really feel like, can we just love each other a little bit more, you know?
I was saying that, yes, last night. I go, it's the easiest one of the easiest commandments to hear and say is to love one another, but it's the hardest thing in the world it seems to do, because to truly love one another, everything else would be solved. There wouldn't be the evil, there wouldn't be the crime, there wouldn't be that. If true people were worldwide, or could really truly love one another and act and serve one another, it would solve every answer. But it seems to be the most impossible thing to do. So I just encourage every day, and I'm always sharing post like daily about being the light, because that's what we can do whether we
Yeah.
are an artist or not. Be out there, show the love, and be the light.
So, you know, we're artists, and we're seen as a little quirky, you know. We're seen as a little off the wall, and good for us, you know, good for us. Um, but don't be afraid to let your paintings convey the way
That's
you
right.
truly feel about things, you know. Uh, if it's a dark painting, put it out there.
Yep.
Someone identifies with it. But if you're painting a nice autumn scene like the one you showed a moment ago, you know, that's the way I felt that day. And so that's who we are. That's our voice as artists, right?
Hmm.
And it doesn't matter which side of the border you're on. It doesn't matter who your president or prime minister is that day. You can still preach a sermon of happiness and light and love and hope and kindness, and yeah. And anyway, that's my sermon.
I love it. I love it, everyone. That is phenomenal, isn't it? All right. I want to touch on this a little bit before we left too, because you're also a photographer, which you talked about, working in this industry. And I've got two that I've chosen. Um, but amazing, because, he's multi-talented here, guys. I mean, from all different kinds of mediums, oil, watercolor, photography, all phenomenal. So if you want to talk a little bit about photography, I chose two that really struck me per se. But you can express anything you want to about it.
Well, this painting is nearby my house here.
This is a painting?
Sorry, photo. I'm sorry,
Okay. I'm like, what?
photograph.
No.
Yeah, that'd be some painting, huh? The guy went to total realism all of a sudden.
That ain't
um,
easy to do either, but amazing. Go ahead.
so I live in a town that is going through a real upheaval right now. It has the southern part of town, which is where the old part is, and the buildings are old and decrepit and falling down, and gradually gentrification is happening. But there are some buildings where the siding has fallen off, and that, as I mentioned earlier, these cameras that I use, these old Rolleiflexes, they're film
Mhm.
camera, and the film tells a story different from digital. It's
Right.
grainy and it's more. I like to say it's deeper looking. It's got a deeper love to it. I think that's a little biased to say that, but it's true. But besides my paintings, which speak a certain language to a certain collection of people out there. But I've also been in photography all of my life. It's also been a constant, and I've never pursued it as a career. Although I did work as a professional photographer for a couple of years, I worked for a television studio. I shot all of their magazine work and what have you. That was back when I was in my 20s. And that was during film. But digital came along. I bought digital. I got digital cameras here. I reproduce all of my paintings in digital, and it has its purpose. But I was never passionate about digital. But film really called. And then a couple of years ago, I watched this documentary that probably many of your viewers have seen, the story of finding Vivian Maier. And Vivian Maier passed away a few years ago, but she was a photographer with these Rolleiflex cameras. She shot over 100,000 rolls of film.
Hmm.
She only developed about 5% of them, and she
Wow.
never shared them with anybody. Uh, the ones that she developed, she never showed them to anybody. Anyway, some guy, she left a storage locker full of these photographs. Some guy bought the storage locker, started developing the negatives, and couldn't believe how beautiful they were. Yada yada. The story of Vivian Maier. Anyway, I loved it.
Right.
As an old school analog photographer, I loved the film experience. And
Mm-hmm.
so I relearned how to develop my film, my black and white and color film. I bought Rolleiflex cameras and I started to go out and shoot kind of like the pseudo Vivian Maier, but just because it touched me in another way, another kind of passion.
Right.
So
Mhm.
here I am going around my town where there's well, it's doing very well. It's growing, it's gentrifying, but there's still that old part where people are struggling and suffering, and there's a lot of homeless. There's a lot of crack addicts on the street. There's a lot of that,
Mm.
um, and it's a bigger story. I can't get into it all right now. Maybe for another interview, another time. But
Right. Right.
um, I find myself around them a lot. And I don't take photos of those people in their down and out places. I don't believe in that. But I take photographs of their neighborhoods and the places where they live. And this building in this photograph is one of those buildings where people actually live there. And it's exposed to the elements, and the wind blows through the cracks
Right.
on those walls. Yeah. Um, but
Powerful.
but the local magazines and the local newspapers and social media in my town have been embracing my work, and they don't know anything about my paintings. They don't know anything about the artists.
A whole new path. Yeah.
It's a whole new path, and I'm allowing that to happen, not to take over, but as another arm, another way of expression. So yeah.
Beautiful. I love it. And I was drawn to that for exactly the reasons you were saying. I didn't necessarily know the story behind this, but I would notice those holes. I noticed the leaks through the place. And I'm like, this has a huge story to it. And, the vibrance of this, great, great backstory. The last one I'm going to finish with, and I chose this one for probably many reasons. I was a chef for over 20 years. And I'm like, I
Uh,
would have loved to have my doors have something like this. How cool is this? I don't know where this is, but I love this idea and it's just phenomenal. So you can tell us a little bit about this.
You've chosen a very poignant way to wrap our discussion tonight because
Yes.
as a full-time artist, uh, it is very possible to pass many days and even weeks without seeing a single soul if you don't make the effort to go out of your space, get in your car, and go to a local cafe or cup or diner or whatever and socialize a bit. You've got to connect.
Right.
And I have had that practice all of my 20 years as an artist. So cafes and diners are a big part of my life. And, well, I'm wearing a little of that. I mean, in other words, I like my bread and I like my, bagels and coffee and what have you. But
Right?
I love the social network that I've established. I just want to touch on the fact that when I first started out full time in art, the cafe, the diner that I used to go to every day and have my bacon and eggs and toast and whatever, they allowed me to hang my paintings on the wall there.
Mhm.
And uh,
Same.
unlike galleries, unlike formal art institutions, cafes and small restaurants are places where, get this, real people go every day.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right.
And real people, high net worth people, low net worth people, people who are working in factories, people who are running corporations. They all stop by the cafe or the diner to pick up a coffee and have some toast and read the paper before the day starts, right? And artists go there to hang out and socialize. And they started seeing my paintings. And in the first year that I was full time, I sold 90 some odd paintings in that cafe, just over $160,000 worth of paintings in that first year. Um, so diners and cafes have become really synonymous with my career and who I am. So one of those places was a little place called Envie. Envie is a French word. I can't remember
Envy.
what it means,
Mhm.
but anyway, this is the doorway to that cafe, and it's a pastry place, and I love those beautiful pastries. um, and they nailed a few utensils onto it and onto the handle of the door, and I just thought how poignant. So I took my black and white film and took a photograph of it, and there it is.
I love it. I just was thinking, as you're telling this story, because again, I had my own restaurants and stuff for so many years. And
Right.
before I actually painted, I did exactly what you're saying. I would have artists come in and let them display their work for so long. A lot of times they would get them sold. I loved art so much that in between the bathrooms, I would put butcher paper over the tables and give the kids coloring crayons. And if they, would color something and I'd try to cut out something that wasn't a mess, right? I would have this like collage of the kids' work, that we change up every few months or so. And so now the kids are creating amazing art. The artists are in there. And then we had this wonderful little, plush barry place where they could just kind of hang out and listen to old jazz music and things like that. But it was just a wonderful place. So you guys that are out there, I have told you so many times, restaurants are such a huge avenue for your artwork. Go make some friends because like you said, I had people in there that could only afford a cup of soup maybe per se, and I had people that had 3 or 4 houses show up here. And you don't know who they are, but they come there all the time. It's their place. And
You know
I
what?
love this story. Go ahead.
What happens with cafes is, well, a gallery, for example, somebody's got to go out of their way to go to a gallery. It's usually not located on the main street. It's usually located in an obscure place somewhere. You got to go out of your way to get there to the gallery. Enough said about that. But your cafe, you go there and you sit down at the counter like Clint Eastwood, black,
Mm-hmm.
black, no butter on the toast. I don't know how he did his toast, but anyway,
Right.
Clint Eastwood. I'm a big Clint fan. Okay, um, the more a diner looks like a Clint Eastwood diner, the more I love it.
Right.
But a person goes in there and they sit down and they see your painting on the wall and they don't even think about it. They just carry on with their breakfast and then they leave. But they come back tomorrow and then they notice it and then they carry on with their breakfast.
Right.
After a couple of weeks, they start to warm up to the art that they see.
Mm-hmm.
And not everyone, but that familiarity becomes comfortable for them. And then they start to look at the paintings a little bit closer.
Right.
Uh, and most restaurants, they don't even want a commission. They don't even charge, God bless them, they don't even charge the artists anything. They just want the decor on the wall. They free
Right.
decor, and,
Mm-hmm.
and especially if you paint quality, or produce quality art, you know. try to give them your very best. Don't give them your garbage. Give them your very best.
Right.
But they'll put it on the wall, and you don't even have to put frames on it, man. You could just hang it on the wall, but people will become familiar with your art. You got to have on your cards a little connection so they can get a hold of you. The restaurant doesn't want to deal with it. They don't want to take the money for it. They don't want to be your agent. They just want you to deal with that all yourself. And I would say that probably 80% of my clients have come through the diners over the 20 years. And the highest net worth clients being the $30,000 and $40,000 paintings,
Right.
they've all been sold to people sipping coffee in a diner.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy? And it's
Crazy.
even better than that, because you never know when somebody's having a moment, right? I have seen people come back in and say, I need to buy that piece because he proposed to me and that piece was right there. I literally have seen it happen. They want the artwork because they had some kind of special event happen, and that art just now resonates with that special moment. So the restaurants, I cannot tell you guys how awesome it is to just take that avenue. If you guys are looking, great place to start. And like you said, yeah, one of the things I think artists worry about, it's a restaurant, it's going to get stuff all over my stuff, or my work. Usually that never happens.
Look at one of the restaurants said to me, well, what if a kid splashes ketchup on it? I said, well, just let me know and I'll come by and pick it up and clean it up and bring it back.
Right. Right. And don't expect the art, the restaurant to do those kind of things for you guys. They'll inform you.
No.
But that's another thing too. You have a conversation, because you definitely don't want the restaurant cleaning that up either, because you have no idea what they're going to use to clean up your artwork. You guys as artists know.
Right.
But no, that's a huge, huge tip for everyone. And I'm telling you, because I was a chef for over 20 something years, owning restaurants for 20, 25 years, this is a great avenue for you guys to all go check. And this piece, this photo here just totally resonated with me and brought back that wonderful, wonderful memory. I'm like, man, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Do you have anything else you want to say to anybody as we are heading out for this evening?
Hug somebody. Don't just shake their hand. Ask them if you can hug them. And tell them, you know what, we can be friends. You can think differently, feel differently, say things different from me, but we can still be friends. And by the way, share your art. Let people see your art. And last thing is, I wouldn't be the shameless self-promoting marketing guy if I didn't say this, but please check out robertmcafee.com and let me know what you like. I'll be more than happy to help you.
Right? Yes, and spread the word, because here's something else, guys, and one of the reasons I talk about sharing all the time, because maybe you might not be able to afford it right now, maybe later, but there might be somebody else. And if you guys don't share out these things, or share out the promos, share out the shows, let's make sure others, because you never know. It's the same thing when you guys are on my show. We want the whole world to see your talents and all help you guys be successful. So please do that for me as much, right? And then, yeah, everybody go give him a follow so that you can see him in our groups. You can share out his artwork. And then, yeah, it's like giving him one big hug. And I love that.
I love you guys. I love you guys for taking the time to spend it with me here today. Thank you for your interest. I'm honored from the bottom of my heart. And, we all can benefit each other if we just reach across the aisle and give each other a little hug. So thank you for taking this time to hang out with me here in my studio today.
Oh, it is absolutely our pleasure. And we cannot wait. Oh, look there, I'm a hugger. That's right. We are so excited you belong to our wonderful Artist Corner family. One thing when I was building this family is I wanted to build a community where we uplifted each other, and we start over on True Social. I don't know if you got an account there, but that group over there is already 630 something members. And then I decided to branch out onto X. But one thing I have seen about this community is the communication, the uplifting, the support for each other, the tips, the whatever. It's become an amazing family, and we're so honored to have you part of that. It makes my heart sing. And anytime you want to come back, you just let me know. We can book you in the next few months or something, because it'd be my honor to have you back, my friend. You have so much more work we haven't even seen, guys.
Yeah. And we can talk about whatever anybody wants. We can have a Q&A time if you want, and we can talk about art marketing and distribution and whatever you want. I got 60 years behind me on this. I'm more than happy to share, you know.
Oh, I love that. I will reach out to you and we will figure that something out, because I think that they would really, really benefit from the Q&As and the tips, because we're all trying to be successful. And it's really important to take advice from people that are already making it as a living in the art world. So we would appreciate that, my friend. And I'll just DM you. We'll work on that. Okay.
Thank you, and God bless you all. And let's do this again.
All right, we'll do. Have a great night, my friend, and we will see you soon. Thank you. Wasn't that amazing? I'm so excited that he is part of our Artist Corner family and our new friend. I'm so glad you guys joined to watch this amazing video tonight, right? Oh, man, I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, he is, Mabel, he is on X. That's the only place I know him from. Oh, you got to go check it out. He belongs to our Artist Corner family over there on X as well. But you guys can find him on X at Robert McAffee, RobertMcAffee. So go check that out. Actually, you know, I think that I have that? I shared that out. So yes, Mabel, you need to actually join us on Truth and start putting your music in there. But there you guys go. So now you can see it right here. Robert McAffee. Go check him out on X and give him some love and a follow. We would appreciate that very, very much. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. All right, guys. So this is the end of our show for tonight. And I'm so glad everybody joined me to not only welcome our new member, but also to see some amazing art, get some amazing ideas and tips, you know, because we all would love to be able to sell our work better and get known better. And I love it when we've got a few of you, you know, Robert now, Bob too, that literally have done their whole lives as this pretty much and been successful artists selling their work. So I will get a hold of him so that we can have a Q&A and kind of find out some more tips and stuff, because why not learn from ones that are really doing this well? So I promise you I will get a hold of him and we'll make that happen. All right, everybody. I am so excited again. Yeah. Yes, it did bring a smile to my face. I love it. I love it. I'm so excited to have you guys part of my artist community and my family. It means really a lot to me. If you guys want to come on the show, please, and help me spread the word. That's another thing I'm posting, you know, please, because I would love to have, you know, these new artists find out who we are, become a part of our community, or the ones that are already in our community come out. I'm already booking for February. So let's get the word out so that we can continue to have these wonderful nights like tonight. So tomorrow, everybody, is the Reset Kitchen. And the other night, you know, after Thursday, with Nurse Patrick, and then talking about, you know, all this new stuff with Maha. You guys know me, and we got on the conversation about burgers, right? And so I went and filmed it, and I made us some amazing bunless burgers that are unbelievable, with sauteed onions and peppers, with a beautiful balsamic blackberry reduction. And then I follow food things on X too, and I saw somebody doing these like smash potatoes kind of things that were almost like their versions of, you know, not a tater tot, but it's like in between a twice baked potato and a tater tot kind of thing. There's these little potatoes, but they did them wrong. They did it with all this other, you know, crappy ingredients. So I said, I love this idea. I'm going to do it Lady Hamilton style. So I made these amazing burgers with these smashed potatoes with, you know, that turn out to be really crispy with cheese and butter and whatever. And you guys are going to enjoy it. And then I have some videos on how easy it is to make some ice creams. Super easy, 3 ingredients, and how we are going to do this together to bring our food back and eat more healthy. I'm so excited to see that they are now turning towards, you know, a healthier pyramid and so forth. So you guys are going to join me tomorrow for the Reset Kitchen, where we feed your body and your soul. That'll be tomorrow at 7 p.m. All right, everybody, if you want to find out about my shows, the best way to do that is by giving me a follow. You guys can do that on X at Lady Hamilton AR1. You can also follow me on X, Truth, Gabbed, and Pilled at Lady Hamilton Art. Let's give some love to this wonderful team, and thank you for all you do to help share out my show. You guys mean the world to me. My viewers are the best, but these guys are the best team a girl could ever ask for. So let's give them some love and a thank you. The first one up is our amazing JJR SVL. Please give him a follow on Truth X, Gab, Pilled, Gitter, or Rumble. Wherever you guys are at, make sure you give him a follow. Next up is our fantastic Tri-Stater. You guys can give him a follow on Truth and on X, and check out his group on Truth Social. Our beautiful Nancy, you guys can follow her on Truth and on X. Our fantastic Frosty, yes, please give him some love and follow on Truth and on X. And our beautiful Kim, let's give her a follow on Truth. All right, guys, we're going to be leaving tonight with one of our Artist Corner members' songs. So excited. I love them. I can't wait to see album number 4. But this is from their current album, number 3, Burning Clock number 3. And I love the song. It puts me in such a great mood. And thank you so much, Ma Bell and My Troubled Days, for letting me play your music. So you guys, this one is one of my favorites. Just love this song. But all you guys can check out all their work on their website. All right, everybody. I will see you guys tomorrow for the Reset Kitchen. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I will see everybody tomorrow. Be blessed.
Demanding, always fair, a lending hand, you always grand. I always know who's got my back. This one's for you. A certain smile, well, it reminds, of a distant time, sitting around, laughing with you. I miss you more than I thought I do. This one's for you. This one's for you, and all that you do. When I look, when I look, when I look, I see who you, I see who you are. I see who you, I see who you back. My heart, it sings with you. So sing it with me, sing it true.